Hey everyone, Jo here at SportsGrid. Happy Friday. It's time for Puck It with Jo. 5 games out there on the ice, and everything is still so fluid out there. Hats off to Sidney Crosby, able to get that 1,000th assist last night in overtime with the win versus the Detroit Red Wings. It was a phenomenal game. I hope you guys took it to overtime. Pre-game, that was coming in at what, plus 340 live in that first period. If you jumped on it late, that was coming in at plus 280. It was an absolute moneymaker out there. So hopefully you guys caught that. But we're going to go over today's games. Like I said, everything is still so fluid. The race for those wild card spots, the Vegas Golden Knights looking to get it. We did see the LA Kings clinch last night, so that was phenomenal to see, but we got a lot of action going on. It's good to see you here, Jimmy. Happy Friday to everyone out there. Let's jump into the first game. Now, the first game we're going to look at here is the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis still hasn't been eliminated. And Carolina has the opportunity of not only taking the Metro, but the Eastern Conference as well. With the New York Rangers recording another win, it's just crazy to think the Carolina Hurricanes can catch them. So looking at this right now, Anderson is expected in goal for the Carolina Hurricanes. Their money line is way too juiced, $2 favorite at minus 225. You do see the St. Louis Blues coming in here at plus 184. Like I said, mathematically still not eliminated. They are trying to fight it out with the Vegas Golden Knights for that last wild card spot. The total is sitting at 5.5, minus 124 to the over and plus 102 to the under. If you think this one goes over that total, it's because you think St. Louis will be able to get those goals on the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. At least 2 goals I would think you would need out of St. Louis for this one to go over that total. I do think the under is a strong way to go, and I'm going to look here at Jordan Binnington. Goalie props are out for Jordan Binnington, and he has to stand on his head. The St. Louis Blues mathematically are still not out. They are going to fight. And with this being an earlier game, not knowing what's happening with Vegas, they're sitting 3 points behind Vegas for that last wild card spot. And Vegas has been struggling. Vegas has come home from a road trip, though. So I do expect Vegas to get back on track. But for a team like the St. Louis Blues, who still, if they win this and Vegas loses, they need to get out to a strong start. So I am looking at Binnington in this game. His save shots on goal is 30.5 at minus 110 to the over. Carolina's going to bring those shots tonight. And I think this is probably the best bet of this game is to take Jordan Binnington over his save shots. I think everything depends on Jordan Binnington tonight. We know the Canes lock down on defense. We know the Canes are so phenomenally strong offensively. This team is completely complete, especially with Anderson in net. Now, they are off a big win versus the Boston Bruins. It was a 4-1 win. They've gone 14-3-1 since March 7th. This team has been absolutely fire. And with the opportunity to take the Metro and the Eastern Conference, you've got to think this team is going to give the best that they can. They're sitting 3 points behind the New York Rangers, second in the Metro, second in the Eastern Conference with 107 points. It's going to be a phenomenal game out there. I promise you. Now, Jake Gunsel, I can never pronounce his name right, has been phenomenally strong. He is looking for this team to continue. I do think you look at his player props tonight, 22.6 goals and 16 assists in the past 15 games. He's been phenomenal since coming over from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jake Neighbors is still out of the lineup for the St. Louis Blues, so I don't even know if they can get this done. They did win in Carolina in January, though, 2-1 in a shootout win with Jordan Binnington in goal. He stopped 29 shots on his net, only allowing that 1 goal to go in. So if they can win in Carolina, they can win here at home with their backs against the wall. I really do believe it. And when we look at Carolina, they have 2 easy games on deck after this one as well. The Chicago Blackhawks on the road on Sunday and the Columbus Blue Jackets on the road on Tuesday. Looking here at the St. Louis Blues, if they can make it past the Carolina Hurricanes tonight, they're the Kraken on Sunday and the Stars on the road on Wednesday. So it really is on their shoulders getting this win tonight. If they get this win tonight and Vegas loses, they have every opportunity of taking that last wild card spot from Vegas, and they absolutely know it. Now, one player I do count on other than Jordan Binnington is Jordan Kyrou. So I guess we're looking at the Jordans tonight. Jordan Kyrou coming in here for the St. Louis Blues has been phenomenally strong. 4+ shots on goal for him is coming in at plus 165. Now he's had 4 shots on goal in 5 of his last 6 games. He's really been stepping up for this team. He had 2 goals versus Chicago, and the last 4 games, he has 7 points. That is a combination of 4 goals and 3 assists. 15 points in the last 10 games, 8 goals, and 7 assists. So I'm going to look at Jordan Kyrou for 4+ shots on goal because Frederik Andersen is so hard for teams to be able to find the goal against. I do think those shots come in. I'm not sure if he can find the back of the net. Excuse me, I had a hiccup. I do think this is another low-scoring game, 3-1. 2-1 style game where Carolina might be able to pull off the win, but I do think we could see the equation of an empty netter coming into play in this game. Now, there's another interesting bet that I found on FanDuel. I've never seen it before. The St. Louis Blues to record 10+ shots on goal in the first period. That's coming in at plus 128. You know they have to come out flying to start this game to be able to get past Carolina. Carolina is such a hard team for them to be able to beat. So I do like that 10+ shots on goal at plus 128. I'm going to take a shot on that one. Let's look at the next matchup here. We have the Nashville Predators taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. Now we know the Preds are in a playoff spot right now, sitting 4th in the Central, 95 points. So that first wild card spot in the Western Conference. Vegas is 3 points behind them with a game in hand. So the Preds, they still, while they've clinched, and they were able to clinch with the overtime loss actually to the Winnipeg Jets in their last game. Getting the loss in OT did clinch them, was a 4-3 loss on Tuesday. I do think this team comes out strong. They don't want to lose that first wild card spot. So it's going to be a hard one though. Their last 2 games have gone to overtime with one of those ones, the one versus the Devils. It was a shootout win for the Predators. So it's going to be a hard one here, I think, because of tired legs, and they're rolling into the playoffs. They have the Columbus Blue Jackets at home on Saturday, and then the Penguins in Pittsburgh on Monday. So this game, could it be a lookover after they've clinched? It could be in a way, but I think with Vegas so close behind them that they can't allow it to go that way because Vegas also has a game in hand. So I do like the Predators for the win, but we look at the value here, you guys, and I just can't find it. Minus 260 here for the Nashville Predators. Total is sitting at 6.5, plus 108 to the over, minus 132 to the under. Now, I don't love the puck lines either. You look at the Blackhawks, they're a bad team, you guys, and to take them plus 1.5 at minus 125 in a game where I think the Preds win, go through the motions, I just can't put my money on Chicago plus the 1.5. If I think Chicago is going to pull off the upset, I'd rather just put a little sprinkle on the plus 10 or plus 205 on the money line than taking the plus 1.5 at minus 125. It's not enough value for me. Now, looking at the Predators minus 1.5, that is coming at plus 104. The Preds on the road have been 21-18 on the road on the puck line, but you got to think some of those puck line wins have been as underdogs, so they've kept games tight. My biggest thing here is Saros. Saros in goal here for the Nashville Predators has been absolutely lights out versus the Chicago Blackhawks. So as long as Saros plays the way that he's played in his career versus the Blackhawks, the Preds should come out and win this 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, or 3-1. It should be a lower scoring matchup with the Predators able to get the win. They could go over their team total. Their team total sitting at 3.5 at minus 124. Again, where are we going to find the value? I do expect the first period to be sort of competitive. I expect the Preds to come out in the first period and find the back of Peter Mrazek's net. We're not seeing the Chicago Blackhawks give him much support, and we're seeing teams break out against him and be able to fire those shots on him. So, it's going to be a hard one. Let's just look. Peter Mrazek versus the Predators has been strong too. 10-4-0 in his 14 games versus the Preds with a 2.44 goals against average and a 920 save percentage. But when we look at him versus the Predators, when he's been in goal for Chicago, he's recorded losses in both of those games. His wins versus the Predators came when he was either with the Carolina Hurricanes or the Detroit Red Wings. So while his numbers look solid, versus the Predators, it's when he was on other teams with other defenses giving him the sport. So I would count on Saros. I would count on the Predators in this one. Let's see if Saros is confirmed yet, because he wasn't when we kicked off. And that will be the difference for me. It will be if Saros is in goal, because no, and it's Lankahan in net tonight, and it's going to be Sonderblom here for the Blackhawks. Okay, I would take this one first period over 1.5 and be done with it with that goaltending matchup. Now looking at Philip Forsberg, we know how strong he has been out here for the Predators. 2+ points for him. I love tonight. That's coming in at plus 132. So I do think that's probably the bet you go with. We have seen him very strong versus Chicago. The last game versus Chicago, he was able to get an assist. So he got 1 point on the board, but he has 43 goals and 46 assists on the season, 49 points. I expect that to be 91 points after tonight. 4 shots on goal versus the Winnipeg Jets and held off the board. He had 4 shots on goal versus New Jersey Devils and 2 assists in that game. So I do think it's going to be a solid one. Give me Forsberg for his points tonight. I think that's the best bet. I hate the late goaltending. Kev, happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, the Arizona Coyotes and the Edmonton Oilers. This one has question marks around this game. I'll give you current odds right now on it. Connor McDavid is the question mark for me, if he will play. Now, this is the first night of a back-to-back for the Edmonton Oilers with Vancouver on deck tomorrow. They're battling it out with Vancouver for that first spot in the Pacific. Looking at Edmonton, they're minus 255. Minus 1.5 on the puck lines, minus 106. Plus 1.5 for the Coyotes is minus 113. I'm plus 205 on the money line. Total 6.5 at minus 108. I'm just going to play the first period in this one, you guys. You look at this matchup. Pickard will be in net tonight for the Oilers. With Connor McDavid being a question mark, I do think Leon Draisaitl is in play. So we're going to talk about his points. But I look at this one with Vancouver on deck tomorrow. Is this a clear look-ahead situation for the Battle of the Pacific tomorrow? In a game where beating Arizona, yes, it is impactful, but beating Vancouver tomorrow is even more impactful because it holds Vancouver off getting points, gets them points. So they need to win both of these, honestly. But will the forethought already be on Vancouver? So they've won their last 3 games. They're 6-1-1 over their last 8 games as well. Sitting second in the Pacific with 101 points, 4 points behind Vancouver, but they do have 2 games in hand over Vancouver. So they have every opportunity of catching them in this race, and they've won their last 7 straight over the Arizona Coyotes, including in February 6-3 in Arizona. What I'm going to do in this one is I'm going to look for the Coyotes. This is game 4 of a 5-game road trip. They have Calgary on deck for their next one. Vermalka getting the start for them. I'm expecting the goals, and I'm expecting the goals fast. We've seen the Arizona Coyotes actually come out nice and strong. They got a win over the Vancouver Canucks in OT in their last game, 4-3. They're also 6-4 in their last 10. So they've been turning things on, and I do think they can do enough in this first period to give us the over 1.5. It's juiced though at minus 148. Both teams to score in the first period at plus 158. And then the old bet that I love to go to when Edmonton is in play, goal in the first 5 minutes. A goal in the first 5 minutes, even without Connor McDavid, presents so much value. That's coming in at plus 158. The last time these teams played, all 3 of those bets hit. We had Edmonton win the first period 2-1 over the Arizona Coyotes in Arizona. Leon Draisaitl got a power play goal at the 2-minute and 12-second mark. So that goal came in the first 5 minutes by Leon Draisaitl on a power play. You can take him tonight for his 2+ points, coming in at plus 102 if you want to hit him for the power play. I don't blame you. Power play point. I don't blame you either, but I do think this is one rinse and repeat from that last game. I expect it to play out exactly the same way, as I do think Edmonton underestimates a team like the Arizona Coyotes to start in some of these games. And Arizona is going to be coming in with all the energy. They're going to be coming off a high after winning in overtime versus the Vancouver Canucks. It's really impressive what they were able to do in that game, and looking at their record. And as well, all the talks about this team possibly moving to Salt Lake City, I think it brings the energy. So both teams to score. I absolutely love it. Plus 158. Now, when you're looking at player props for Arizona, Clayton Keller here, the anytime goals coming in at plus 195, the power play point at plus 200, and the 2+ points at plus 265. He had a power play goal in the last meeting and an assist. So I do think I'm going to look at that power play point at plus 265. At plus 200. It has so much value here. The 2+ points I do think can come into play at plus 265 as well. He's had 8 goals and 10 assists in his last 13 games. He's absolutely flying out there on the ice. Ekholm has been strong though as well for Edmonton, 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 games out there. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has a goal and 4 assists in his last 2 games. But I'm going to hit Leon Draisaitl and Clayton Keller. Logan Cooley had a goal and an assist in the game versus Vancouver. You know he's always good to come out there and get at least a point on the board. Good to see you here today. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, next game, the Calgary Flames taking on the Anaheim Ducks. This is a game that doesn't mean anything to anyone except for one player on the Anaheim Ducks. In my opinion, at least, I know these players are going to come out here and play strong, but we're not battling for wild card spots, playoff spots, nothing like that. Calgary is 6th in the Pacific. They've long been eliminated. They're off a loss to the Kings last night, 4-1. And we look here at the Ducks. They're off a win versus the Kings on Tuesday, 3-1. They are 2-1-1 in their last 4. This team's been turning it on. They're playing solid. Now, they beat Calgary in Calgary on the 2nd, 5-3. Now, Jacob Silfverberg of the Anaheim Ducks announced yesterday that he will be retiring at the end of this season. I love him tonight to come out and play a solid game in their last home game at home. So I do think the Ducks are quacking tonight. I think the Ducks have every opportunity of pulling off this win. You look at Calgary and they've been an absolute mess, you guys, and you know that is my team. I don't have the faith in them to come out here on the second night of a back-to-back and beat an Anaheim Ducks team that has been pulling together, especially when this is their last home game with one of their players that has been with them for 11 seasons. Now, looking at Jacob Silfverberg here, his anytime goal is coming in at plus 450. So much value for him in his final game with him retiring at the end of the season. 158 goals in his career, 354 points, and 769 games in his 11 seasons with Anaheim. It is crazy to see players playing their last game. It's going to be very emotional for him. Well, it's not his last game. They have 2 road games, the Kings on Saturday and Vegas on Thursday, but this will be his last game in front of the home fans in Anaheim that he's played 11 seasons with. So I do think you look at him for that anytime goal at plus 450. I can't find his points on FanDuel, but if your book is offering the point, just in case it's an assist out there, I do think he's impactful in tonight's game. So that's the only thing that I'm really loving. I would look at the first period over 1.5 at minus 128 as well. But the Ducks on the money line, I do think is a better bet than the first period over. The Ducks on the money line at plus 116. Who wants to lay minus 140 on a Calgary Flames team that is losing left, right, and center? I sure don't. They will be returning home, Calgary. They have the Coyotes on Sunday, and then they're in Vancouver on Tuesday, and then they're home versus the Sharks on Thursday. And yeah, the last time I watched them play the Sharks at home on their last game of the season, it was terrible. Calgary didn't even come to play, but that was under the Sutter years, and they were making a statement there too. So we'll see what happens. The Minnesota Wild taking on the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. Marc-Andre Fleury getting the start for the Minnesota Wild, which is not good for him. He has struggled versus his former team in the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is minus 182, and this team absolutely needs this win. We talked about the St. Louis Blues chasing them here for that last wild card spot. This total sitting at 5.5, minus 122 to the over and plus 100 to the under. If you think the Wild, who had their playoff hopes crushed in their last game, could get the win here, they're plus 150. I don't see it happening. They lost that game to the Avs in their last game out on Tuesday. It was a 5-2 loss. My concern is Marc-Andre Fleury in net. He's got a 2.87 goals against average and an 8.99 a save percentage, and was 1-2 in his 3 games against the Vegas Golden Knights with a 3.43 goals against average and a 906 save percentage. So I do think Vegas is going to hit him. I'm expecting Logan Thompson to get the start here for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm not seeing confirmation as of yet. Now, Vegas is returning home from a road trip where they fell straight on their face. 3 games, 3 losses. But Vegas on their home ice has been so much stronger. Home ice record 24-11-2 for this team. And they absolutely know they have to get things back on track. 4th in the Pacific. They're 3 points behind the LA Kings for that 3rd spot in the Pacific. They have 92 points on the season, sitting in that 2nd wildcard spot. 3 points only in front of the St. Louis Blues, who are trying to take it. So they need this win. They cannot lose this one, especially if St. Louis wins today. They're going to be in trouble, and they could risk missing the playoffs. So the Minnesota Wild, they're going to try to upset them here. I think Vegas just has so much to play for, and I don't trust Marc-Andre Fleury. So give me Vegas first period puck line laying a half a goal. I do think they come out strong on their home ice straight out of the gate. You could look at them for the first or for the full game puck line. It would probably come by an empty netter at plus 142. I do think it's a tight one here. Noah Hanifin, 1+ points tonight, is coming in at plus 110. He had an assist in the last 2 games, so he's been able to get those points on the board. The last time versus the Wild, though, he was held off the scoreboard. Kaprizov here for the Minnesota Wild. You know how strong he is, coming in at plus 125 for that anytime goal. If anyone's going to find the back of the net of Logan Thompson tonight for the Minnesota Wild, I do think it's Kaprizov. He had a goal in the last game versus the Avs, and he had 2 in the game versus the Blackhawks and the Winnipeg Jets. He had 4 shots on goal in his last 4 games, and a goal and 3 points in the previous 2 appearances versus the Vegas Golden Knights. So I do think he comes out strong. But then we got to circle Jack Eichel here of the Vegas Golden Knights. 2+ points coming in at plus 168. He's trying to lead his team to victory. He was held off the scoreboard versus Edmonton, which we know that is super frustrating for these players. He had 2 goals and an assist versus the Vancouver Canucks in the game prior. So I do think he comes out nice and strong in this one. But you guys, it's going to be quite the night out there on the ice. I want to wish you guys all the best in all of your bets. Thank you so much for joining me here on Pocket with Jo. If you could share and retweet this video, I would greatly appreciate it. And make sure you drop below in the comments who you are liking tonight. You guys, all the best in all of your bets. Again, thank you so much for joining me.